I told my family I wouldn't be going on the vacation this year, mainly because my sister expected me to babysit again. Over and over, I've ended up playing the role of helper or built-in babysitter every time we go on these so-called family trips. It got so bad I eventually moved out of my parents' house, just to get away from constantly being pushed into watching my 3 nephews. Last summer, we all went on a trip to the coast. I tagged along with my parents, and they covered my hotel room. But that room? I had to share it with 2 wild little boys, because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I'd been promised I'd have some time to myself during the trip. But in reality, I spent most of it taking care of the kids. When I brought it up and said I wasn't okay with it, the response I got was basically, well, you're here for free, so deal with it. The only thing I really got to do for myself was visit an art gallery. That's something I always try to do when I'm near the coast. I enjoy it. But the kids hated it. Said it was boring. This year, my parents planned another beach trip for June, and they just assumed I'd be coming along the same way as last time. But I told them no. I said I'd be driving myself and booking my own hotel room. That way, I could have my own space. They were surprised, even a little shocked. They tried reminding me how much all this would cost. I told them not to worry. I've got a solid job and a car that runs fine. I can cover my own expenses just fine. Then came the buts. I laid it all out for them. Everything that happened last time. That's why I'm paying my own way. I want to enjoy this trip like an adult, not be treated like a kid again. My parents told my sister what I said, and she immediately called me furious. She said I'd ruin the vacation if I was off doing my own thing, leaving her alone to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling back. I told her that last year, all she did was dump her problems on me. I barely got to do anything I wanted, and somehow I was painted as the villain just because I wanted to visit an art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve a vacation too. Now my sister isn't talking to me, and my parents keep pressuring me to ride with them for the sake of keeping the peace. I'm still saying no, but I'd be lying if I said the pressure isn't getting to me. Am I the jerk for standing my ground? I know they're in for a tough time without someone else around to help out. Edit. It hasn't even been an hour since I posted, and guess what? My sister found the post. She apparently lurks on Reddit in the mornings. Now she's beyond angry, not just at me, but at everyone in the comments for not taking her side. She went off on a rant about how hard it is raising triplets, and said the least I could do is help out since I'm young, single, and have plenty of free time. I stuck to my decision. And now she's calling our parents to drag them into it. Update. I'm off work now and can finally explain the rest. Long story short, it blew up. My sister pulled my parents in, they read the post, and they were shocked by the flood of comments. Yeah, they were mad at me for posting it publicly. But I told them straight up, if they'd listened to me before, I wouldn't have needed to post anything. I'm done with this whole keep the peace nonsense, where I always have to sacrifice my own time to keep my sister happy. After some back and forth, my parents turned on her. In the end, the whole vacation got canceled. They hadn't even booked the hotel yet, so no loss there. Now they're arguing with her, she's blaming me, and the kids are crying because there's no beach trip. My sister called me during lunch and basically said I have no life. That's why I've got time to help out. I recorded that and let our parents hear it. That's what the latest fight's about now. Small update. I wasn't going to say anything else, but here's a quick one. My parents told me they won't ever expect me to babysit the nephews again. They agreed what happened last year wasn't fair to me. They're especially upset that my sister said I should help because she thinks I have no life. She's still playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is just ignoring it all. He's at work most of the time and wants nothing to do with the drama. Thanks to everyone who commented. You seriously made my day. Update 1. My parents apologized. My sister didn't, not at first anyway. A week ago, I made this throwaway account just to ask if I was the jerk. Turns out I wasn't far from it. There's too much to say for an update on that post, so a friend told me to share it here. Posting on Am I the Jerk basically opened a whole Pandora's box in my family. My parents and sister had gotten real comfortable treating me like the backup childcare plan for her twins. I didn't move out until I was 23 because I was trying to save money while going to college. I had a scholarship that covered most of the costs, and living at home helped me avoid debt since I was only working part-time. I'm grateful for that. But after I graduated, it was like everyone assumed I had all the time in the world. They roped me into a family vacation and acted like I owed them. That vacation? I spent most of it babysitting 2 7-year-olds. I even had to share a room with them, and believe me, they didn't listen to a word I said until I called their mom. 3 times. The first night alone was chaos. Anytime I wanted to do something for myself, it got shut down. If it wasn't something the whole family liked, it just didn't happen. Which was pretty hypocritical, because I am family too, and nobody seemed to care what I wanted. After my last post, I told all this to my parents. They admitted they were wrong. That awful vacation pushed me to finally move out, and I did it before summer was even over. Nobody saw it coming. I landed a great job right out of college thanks to an internship, and I used the move to shorten my commute from 30 minutes to just 5. My sister hated it. No more free weekend babysitting. She still tried to pull me in sometimes. I gave in now and then, usually if they bribed me with pizza. That became the new routine, until last month. My parents announced another family vacation to the coast. They wanted everything to go just like last time. I saw it right away for what it was, a trap. If I let them handle my room and ride with them, I'd be stuck babysitting again. So I simply said I'd drive myself and cover my own expenses. And that's when everything hit the fan. My parents realized they couldn't corner me like before and started almost begging me to go along with their plan. My sister tried to guilt-trip me into it. Newsflash, I didn't budge. After putting up with several days of pressure, I made the "Am I the Jerk?" post. Less than an hour later, my sister somehow found it. That's when the real mess started. At first, my whole family was against me. She called our parents, and they called me early in the morning when I still had a little time to talk. They were reading my post while on the phone with me. I asked them flat out, "Is anything I wrote untrue?" They danced around the question and called it an exaggeration. I didn't let that fly. I pointed out exact things I'd said and showed how everything lined up. Then I told them to check the comments. There were already way too many to read. I was refreshing the page on my computer and giving them the count in real time. And I said one more thing. I'm done with their idea of peace, if it means always keeping my sister happy at my expense. I told my parents I didn't have more time to talk and we'd have to pick it up later. They were already freaking out over the post getting hundreds, maybe even thousands, of comments in just a few hours. Later on, I mentioned the number had basically doubled and was still climbing. That just made them even more horrified. I guess it forced them to take a hard look at how they've been acting. While I was at work, my sister tried to blow up my phone, but I had it on silent until lunch, so she had no choice but to leave voicemails and a bunch of angry texts. She finally got through to me during my break, and from the moment I picked up, it was clear she was pissed. Her main complaint? That my Reddit post had turned our parents against her, and now they were mad. After a fight broke out between them, my parents ended up canceling the whole vacation. Later, they admitted they'd only been blaming me out of embarrassment, and they finally took full responsibility. They said there was no excuse for treating me like the family's built-in babysitter, especially when I wasn't even living under their roof anymore. They did try to backpedal a little, bringing up the fact that they never charged me rent when I was in college. But I reminded them that kids don't ask to be born, and I've been doing my best to get ahead in life. I even pointed out that my dad got the same kind of help from his own parents. They let him live at home for free while he was in school. That pretty much shut down any argument they had left. When my sister finally got me on the phone at lunch, I laid out all the facts. That's when her real attitude came out. She flat out said I don't have a life, so my weekends should be spent helping her, because she's tired and can't go anywhere unless someone watches the kids. Keep in mind, she's a stay-at-home mom with a husband who earns a decent paycheck. They live in a nice house that they own, not rent. And honestly, her kids aren't my responsibility. They just kept pushing them onto me like it was my job. She hung up on me furious. But I'd recorded the call and later I played it for my parents. They were livid. And that set off a whole new war between them and my sister. She wouldn't back down. She kept blaming me, doubling down on this idea that my life should revolve around hers. I told her straight up that was the most self-centered, entitled thing she'd ever said about me. It took a few days, but eventually her husband stepped in and made her apologize. I've never seen her so sheepish. She was on the edge of tears. That's when the truth started coming out. Turns out, one reason I was always expected to babysit was because she doesn't trust strangers with her kids. It wasn't even about money, or was it? Funny thing is, my brother-in-law thought she'd been paying me to watch the kids after I moved out. But she hadn't even given me gas money. Just handed me enough cash to order pizza for me and the kids, and then pocketed the rest for herself. She'd been shorting me for months. When that came out, he went off on her. She ended up having to pay me back everything she owed, straight out of her own savings, and she looked like it physically hurt to do it. He also apologized for not stepping in sooner, and told me from now on, They'll hire a real babysitter. Sure, it'll cost them a bit, but at least my sister can start enjoying date nights again without dragging me into it. A few evenings ago, we all sat down for a family meeting at my parents' place. Everything got put out on the table. Apologies were made. After that, my parents brought the vacation back on. But I made it clear, I'm still driving myself, still paying for my own hotel. If my sister even tries to dump childcare on me again, I'll stay in a completely different hotel. And I told them that directly. She promised me that won't happen this time. So if you don't hear from me again after the trip next month, you can assume it all went smoothly. Update 2. My sister called me and demanded I take my Reddit posts down. Now she's even more upset, realizing just how far they've spread. Having a family that reads Reddit? Yeah, it has its downsides. Yesterday, right after I got off work, she called and asked if people were still commenting. She said she can't bring herself to look because the comments are too painful. Most of them tear into her pretty hard. I didn't sugarcoat it. I told her, yeah, there are still about 15 new comments coming in each day, and they mostly say the same kind of things about her. That's when she started crying, begging me to delete everything. I told her flat out, she can cry to whoever she wants, but I'm not taking down the posts. They're my protection. My way of making sure she doesn't pull this crap on me again. She acted like my life should revolve around hers, didn't pay me what she owed, and dumped 3 rowdy kids on me for an entire vacation while I got no break. Is it really any surprise folks on the internet are angry about that? When I mentioned the post had even spread to other sites, and that a few people had asked if they could write articles or make videos about it, she freaked out and hung up. Then my parents called me, begging me to take it all down. I refused. I told them the truth. None of this would have happened if they had just stood up for me in the first place. If they had told my sister to treat me like a brother, not a damn servant, I wouldn't have needed Reddit. I'm not her butler. I'm not her handyman. And I'm sure as hell not her babysitter. I'm her brother. A grown-ass man with his own life. Wouldn't they be tired of this crap if they were in my shoes? They said they understood, but they still pleaded with me to take the posts down. I told them no. And I warned them, if they don't start standing up for me when my sister throws her tantrums, I'll keep posting. Let her clean up her own messes for once. All this drama is a result of years of them enabling her. I didn't make those kids. I've got a life. I've got a career I'm just starting to build. And maybe soon, I hope, I'll have a girlfriend too. There's someone I've been thinking about asking out. My life is moving forward. I won't let it get dragged backward anymore. They can either support me or keep letting my sister bulldoze over everything. But if they choose the second option, it's not going to end well for them. This whole Reddit thing? It stops when the drama does. I've kept names out of it. I've stayed anonymous. But I've got every right to vent my frustrations, especially when they're this valid. That left my mom in tears. My dad just sat there quiet. I told them I'm not moved by crying anymore. If they want this to end, they need to stop enabling my sister. Later on, my sister called again furious. She said our parents told her they're done getting involved and that she needs to figure it out herself. Oh, and they told her to treat me better too. I could practically picture her eye twitching at that. Be nice to my little brother? What do I do, Google how? Yeah, I was sarcastic as hell to her. Then I hung up. She started crying again. A little later, my brother-in-law called to get my side of things. He was upset that I was still posting and had made his wife cry. But once I explained everything, he calmed down and said he'd talk to her again. So that's where we are. I'm hoping this is the end of the drama. The vacation's still happening later in June. I've already booked my room and requested the day off so we can all leave on a Friday. My hotel room? Nowhere near the ones my parents, sister, brother-in-law, and nephews will be using. It's not even on the same floor. And when we get to the coast, if we're not doing something as a group, I'm doing my own thing. You can bet I'll be walking those art galleries, eating all the local food, and finally just enjoying myself for once. Update 3. After the family vacation. Well, the vacation's over now, and like I figured, there was some good and some bad. The good part? My parents didn't let my sister get away with trying to dump the babysitting on me. And yes, of course she tried. The bad? She also tried to find out what room I was staying in. That plan flopped and landed her in hot water with her husband again. See, before the trip, I called the hotel ahead of time and told them not to give out any info about my stay to anyone unless it was the police. They promised me over the phone they wouldn't say a word. And I made it very clear that I was serious about this. On the day of the trip, I left earlier than the rest of the family. I knew they'd move slow and probably wouldn't get going before 11 a.m., so I hit the road at 10 sharp. Check-in wasn't until 2 p.m., but I wanted a head start. I sent out a group text to let them know and made the 4-hour drive without issue. Turns out, my parents had planned a family brunch along the way, but I hadn't been told anything about it, so they ended up scrapping that and grabbing fast food instead. I arrived at the hotel too early to check in, but I went straight to the front desk anyway. I reminded them about the privacy thing, especially with my mom, sister, and 3 potentially crying kids possibly showing up trying to sweet-talk the staff. They assured me again that no one but me would have access to my room or its details. I made sure they understood I wasn't kidding. After that, I went out for a bite to eat and came back a little over an hour later. Sure enough, I spotted my parents' car and my brother-in-law's big SUV already there. Before heading to the desk, I checked that the lobby was clear. Then I went up to check in and casually asked the clerk if anyone had inquired about me. Yep, they had. My family asked, and my sister even tried to push the issue. But the staff didn't budge, and her husband had to shut her down. I checked in, went to my room, and later gave my parents a call. Funny enough, nobody mentioned what had happened at the front desk. I didn't bring it up either. Later that day, we all met up as a group and went sightseeing. At one point, my sister asked if I could watch the kids for just a moment. I flat out told her, hell no. I knew her game. She'd act like she was stepping away for a second, then vanish for an hour. I called her out on it in front of everyone. Her husband backed me up and told her to stop trying to unload the kids on me. So what did she do? She started crying right there, saying she needed a break. Her husband told her he was tired too, but you didn't see him complaining. My mom gave me this nasty glare. So I looked her straight in the eye and said if she so much as hinted that I should take over babysitting, I'd walk right out of this vacation. I said I was done being treated like that. It's not my job, and I was sick of both her and my sister acting like it was. That shut her down. She started crying too and just kept saying, "You're right. You're right." It's an old trick of hers, make herself look pitiful so I'd feel bad. But I wasn't falling for it. I told her, yeah, I am right, and walked away. Neither she nor my sister tried anything the rest of that day. Later that night, after dinner, everyone gathered by the elevator. I didn't join them. When they asked why, I just said I'd wait for the next one. My sister gave me the evil eye. She knew exactly why I wasn't getting in with them. So I just hung out in the lobby watching YouTube on my phone for about 20 minutes, then caught the elevator up to my room on a different floor at the far end of the hotel. Had a great night. Next morning, we all went out for breakfast, but I made sure they left first. I was the last one out, just like I was the last one back in the night before. Breakfast went fine, and afterward I let them know I'd be off doing my own thing until dinner. My mom tried to rope me into a few family activities, like the aquarium and some other spots, but I said I'd meet up with them for those. The rest of the day was mine. They agreed, and the day went pretty smoothly. That evening, though, I caught my sister trying to corner me. I'd gone back to my room for a bit to rest before dinner, and when I stepped out, there she was, just down the hall. She must have been snooping around trying to figure out where I was staying. She started in again, saying I'd ruined the trip for her, that it wasn't much different than being at home because she still had to deal with her kids. I called BS. Our parents had been helping her plenty. Then I told her flat out I was done being her scapegoat. It was over. She needed to back off and handle her own life. She tried to keep the conversation going, shouting after me, "Hey, I'm trying to talk to you." But I told her I didn't care and kept walking toward dinner. She followed me all the way to the elevator, but we didn't say another word. At dinner, I told my parents and brother-in-law what had happened, that she'd stalked me to find my room. She got chewed out like a child. Of course, she tried to play the victim again. I told her to knock it off and grow up. The days where she could control me were done. Then I left the hotel and drove to dinner. This time, I was the first one there. When the rest arrived, my sister looked miserable, but no one said a word about what had gone down earlier. That was just fine by me. She wouldn't even look me in the eye during the meal, and I didn't care. I also made it crystal clear, unless it was a true emergency, no one was to knock on my door. I had a do not disturb sign for a reason. The last day of the vacation went great. Neither my mom nor sister bothered me. It was like they finally got the message. They'd surrendered. And just to be clear, I did play with my nephews a little bit. I'm not heartless. I wasn't cold toward them. I just kept things in the fun Uncle lane, not the babysitter role. The boys didn't seem to mind. They just wanted to hang out and play. I even bought them each a small souvenir, little bags of polished crystals and stones to take home. There was some light tension between my sister and her husband toward the end, but I stayed out of it. Honestly, I'd call the trip a win. It finally hit my mom and sister that things have changed. I have my own life now. Update 4. They just don't learn. So, my mom and sister read my last post. Of course, they can't leave well enough alone. Hi, Mom. Hi, Sis. Yeah, I told you, if you didn't back off, I'd be back on Reddit. And here I am. Short version? My sister had been checking my account for days, just waiting for me to post again. What did she expect? That I'd say everyone had a great time? Please. She called me up, crying that I made her look like a bad mother. I said, well, if the glass slipper fits. She tried to argue, but I asked her to point out a single thing in the post that was untrue. She stumbled a few times, but I shot down every one of her claims. Every detail I shared? Spot on. So what does she do? She runs to Mom. Then Mom shows up at my door, demanding I take the posts down. I told her no. And now, thanks to that, I've got fuel for another update. She left crying. Later, I talked to both my parents on the phone. I told them bluntly, their constant enabling is what created this whole situation. And if they're still hoping things will go back to the way they were, well, they'd better kill that hope right now. They ended up telling my sister to stop blaming me for everything and to just leave me alone. Said they couldn't handle the stress anymore. My sister? She had a full-on, nobody loves me pity meltdown. My parents had to snap her back to reality. My brother-in-law hasn't said anything. I'm guessing he's trying to stay neutral. But I can't imagine this is good for his marriage or my connection to him as family. So for what it's worth, I'm sorry, man. But your wife pushed me too far. Now my parents are insisting my sister get counseling. They finally realized she can't be a full-time mom while still clinging to her old, selfish habits. Time to grow up. And with that, I'm really hoping this is the last time I ever have to post about any of this. You hear that, sis? If you don't quit thinking I was supposed to be your personal servant, your babysitter, your watchdog, whatever else, and if you keep acting like the whole world is out to get you just because you can't control me anymore, then honestly, we can't be around each other. Maybe, just maybe, we could actually move forward and let all this crap go if you stop giving me reasons not to. You want the Reddit posts to stop? Then don't give me anything to write about. From now on, I'll only post about me, about how I'm treated by people. Treat me like a decent human being, and this will all be over. Got it? Update. My parents and I had a long, serious talk. They apologized, and for now, we've agreed it's best I keep a little distance, at least until Thanksgiving. Last night, I also had a one-on-one with my brother-in-law over a couple of cold beers. He told me he sat my sister down and said she needed to start therapy or else he was ready to separate. They're already in the process of finding her a counselor. He also told me that, yeah, while my sister was acting like a complete nightmare toward me, she's actually a very loving and affectionate wife at home. She admitted something too, that she liked being an only child. We're almost 10 years apart, and apparently, she's held on to some deep-seated resentment about that for years. Just bottled it up. Let it fester. Now she agrees she needs help and is committed to going to counseling once it's all set up. They've also found a proper babysitter for the boys. So no more dumping them on me. On top of all that, my brother-in-law admitted he was mad at me for how things blew up, but also admitted he should have stepped in a long time ago and didn't. So we both agreed this whole mess was just a bad situation that needed to end. We're letting it rest now. For real this time. And finally, yeah, believe it or not, all these posts actually got me a girlfriend. The girl I'd been crushing on read the posts and had a gut feeling it was me. She was just waiting for me to say something. Well, I finally did. And tonight, we've got our first date. So to everyone here who's followed this crazy ride and supported me along the way, thank you. Truly, I needed it more than I knew. Thanks for sticking around and listening to my story. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss more true life stories just like this one.